Thank you guys for joining us today for Garner's first economic development podcast. I'm here with Angie Mikus, Kris Bengtson, and Alaksha Surti, all of which are great entrepreneurs that have invested in our community and have done very well for themselves. So thank you guys for joining us today. Really, we just want to start it off and kind of understand a little bit about what it's like to be an entrepreneur, but really in particular, what's it like to be an entrepreneur in Garner? You know, what made you guys want to start a business here, everywhere else that you could be at?
Oh, me first?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I mean, Garner is probably the best place. The people, the town, the businesses. I waited tables for probably 20 years in Garner. And I felt like even though I waited tables with for somebody else, I always worked for myself. And if I didn't have money to put my kid in baseball, the Optimist Club would put them, you know, and made sure they played baseball or basketball. I never, even though I was a single mother raising two boys, I never went without anything. You know, I mean, I was always provided with whatever I needed. And I didn't realize over the years the great relationships that I had built throughout the 20 years of experience.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And I know, Kris, man, you started off as an English teacher, had a bunch of jobs in between then and now. Have even gone through some ups and downs in your health and things like that, but yet you're still kicking here, right here at the brewery. So, I mean, what kind of made you choose Garner over anywhere else to put your brewery?
That was the hardest part of opening our business, is trying to find a spot. Our first requirement for a brewery, at least, was to be in a place where there wasn't a brewery, and I'm glad that we found Garner. And it's funny that I didn't say we found Garner. Garner kind of found us. Garner didn't have a brewery, and they were kind of the last one in Wake County. On the brewery side, the business side, other business owners, the town council members, down to you, Joe, the economic developer. I mean, connections there, welcomed us with open arms. We're more than thrilled to have us here and have supported us from day one, and still do. And actually that's growing more and more. So I love being in Garner.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to hear it. And I know, Alaksha, you're a little bit different in that you just opened a bricks and mortar location in Raleigh, but you kind of got your start here in Garner. That's right. And I know, Kris and Alaksha, you participated in our Connect conference in August of last year, and a lot of people got to hear your story, and just incredibly impressive, your kind of just the global experience you've had. But having all that knowledge, what made you want to jump into the food truck business right here in our town?
Well, we actually moved to Garner about 14 years ago from Cary. And we love the feel in Garner. You know, it's very close to downtown, to Raleigh, but still it's away from the hustle and bustle. The people here are so nice. I started my business as a hobby, basically, and I knew I wanted to do something to leave a legacy for my kids and just pursue my passion in cooking. But I didn't know how to go about it. So I went to the Garner Chamber, and Denise was at the chamber at that time, you know, and we were members just as individual, not as a business, but my husband was a member there, and he said, go talk to Denise and see how they can help you, you know. So we started as a hobby, and then we took part in the expo, the Garner Expo that they have every year, and that's how we started. And the response that we got from the community, from the chamber members, it was overwhelming, you know. So we said, you know, this is where we want to be, and then we started the food truck because there was a demand. People were like, when are you starting your restaurant? And I was like, I don't know whether I can do that just yet, so let's start small. And then we started the food truck, and even with that, you know, we got such a great response, and we just kept growing from there. And we love this community. We love all the support we've got from everyone. Over here we have the biggest cheerleaders actually in Garner, and that gave me the encouragement, you know, to keep going.
Yeah, and things are going well at your new location?
It is going great. You know, I've got a lot of support from my husband, family, and the community.
Great. You know, I was reading something the other day, and they said over the past 20 years, the number of female-owned businesses have gone up 114%. And I think that's incredible whenever you look at the landscape and just the changing dynamics of our society to see just how many new businesses are being created. I think the last numbers I saw were almost, like 414,000, something like that, new businesses created. And to see as many minorities and female business related companies started is just incredible. And that kind of gets me to my next question is each one of you guys have kind of done your own thing and gotten to where you are today your own ways, but certainly even though you have clear differences between you and your experiences, there's certain traits, right, that just make somebody perfect to be their own boss or to be that entrepreneur. I mean, what traits do you think were instrumental in your successes, and what traits, even like from the economic development side, I meet with people all the time that want to start companies, and some of them are easy to tell, you're not going to make, you never say this, but you're going to have a hard time. Some of them you can just say that guy or that gal, they've got it, right? They've got whatever that it is. What traits do you think are like the most critical for somebody looking to start a new company? Or what traits that you had?
Well, I mean, I think you're right. I think that, the town, they know. You kind of know when you talk to people whether or not they're made to be entrepreneurs. The most important trait, I think, is probably you have to care about what you're doing. You have to have passion for what you do. That's why I care about all the people that not only come to my restaurant, but the relationships that I built over the years. I think you have to have a drive for it. You have to, look, I work 90 plus hours a week.
Wow.
I've just recently gotten to where I'll step back a little bit. Like, I think when we did the thing with the mayor a while back, the mayor calls me and he's like, hey, Angie, he said, listen, we're doing this, interviews on the great people in Garner. And, first of all, I said, Ronnie, who? And I was like, you got the wrong girl. And he's like, no, I've got the right girl. He's like, can you be at the town, hall at 4:30? And I'm like, Ronnie, that's not even possible. I can't leave this restaurant. For probably 6 years, I never left unless there was a death or something happened, But, over time you kind of learn, okay, well, you learn that, did you want to build this for it to just stop when you stop? Or do you want it to continue to grow?
You got legacy, right?
Yes, exactly. And just like you said, that's what I wanted. I wanted a legacy. The only thing I've ever had is my name and my children. Sure. And I wanted to leave, my legacy for them.
And how long has Angie's been Angie's, where it's at?
It'll be 8 years.
So that's incredible. I was going to say, because I know, Kris, you just celebrated 2 years, right? And Alaksha, you're less than a year in your brick and mortar store, but probably a little bit longer than that in your food truck. So.
Yes, less than 2 years with the food truck, May 5th of 2007.
Well, I still feel like it's the first year. Okay. I still get butterflies, and I still, people come in there all the time, like these little kids come in there and they're like, oh my gosh, is that Angie? And I'm like, I'm just the girl, they're like all my cheerleaders. Like, these people make me stronger every day. They give me a purpose, that I don't think money can buy, or anything that you can get at any kind of store.
You're your own mascot, man. You are the brand of the company.
Right.
And I think that's another thing for entrepreneurs that maybe is a little bit more difficult for them, that even whenever they leave and they go outside of their business, they're still representing their business, right? And so personal actions and things that you do, it makes a huge, huge difference.
Well, I just have so much compassion for the town and so much compassion for people in general. Sure. Somebody made a remark. I told them that I was coming here to do a podcast, and my goal is, the reason why I started like the Thanksgiving thing is just because I want somebody to see what I do, and maybe they'll do the same. And I was talking to Angie Crumpler right before I left, because I was a little bit nervous. I haven't done this in a while, and when you're being recorded, you're kind of like, oh, you might say something wrong or do whatever. And she's right. I just want to change the world one biscuit at a time.
There you go. There you go. One biscuit, one beer, one
curry,
yeah, for sure.
You hope that you touch the people that, it's not just, oh, there's $5 walking in the door, there's $10 walking in the door. You hope you leave an everlasting impression. And the impression that you leave with people, is the same impression that they left with me, sure, that inspired me to do what I've done.
I think one thing that's really interesting with entrepreneurship in particular, and I think, Kris, you can speak to this probably better than anybody, is leaving a secure job. Right, you were a teacher for years. All right, you left a state paycheck that was regular. You knew what was coming in, and now all of a sudden you're running this brewery, right? And there's nothing to say that it'll succeed or that it'll fail. It may be hugely successful one way or the other. How did you cope with the lack of security in business, and then what would you tell somebody that wants to get into business how to cope with that? I mean, how do you prepare not to know where your next paycheck comes from?
Well, one of my bullet points was the word resilience, which applies to me more than just the business side because of all the personal health stuff I went through too. But they were linking, together. Coming from a teaching background where I was, yes, making a secure paycheck, but not a very good one, for what we do or what we did, which is one of the reasons I left looking to open my own business. I was kind of tired of the lack of respect from our politicians and lawmakers on the side of, taking care of teachers and law force or first responders. I mean, there's a number of us that felt a little disrespected. So I don't know. I was ready to move on into something that I was passionate about. Yet I could be my own boss, make decisions. I've not had a pointless meeting in over 2 years. We have meetings, but we get stuff done. We don't just talk about it. Like when we sit down to make a plan, we follow through with it. And so I don't know, the idea of resilience, being able to adapt in situations where it might seem hopeless, whether it's something that you really rely on breaks at the brewery, or you have an employee that we had to get rid of for reasons I'm not going to say, but like they were really, really bad, and we had to overcome that because our business and all of our businesses here are in the public eye. Sure. I mean, we do it for the public, and it breaks my heart because small businesses are family, and when someone that you respect and trust and literally put at the front lines of you and the customers kind of walks all over you, to the point where the public was not coming to our brewery because of that person. How do you overcome that, right? Yeah. How do you move past that? And it goes back to kind of what Angie said, which is just showing that you continue to care, that you're willing to give back, that you're here for the long run. You're not here just for yourself, but you're here because there's a need and a want for your product.
And you made a good point.
And your place.
You made a good point. People, I think, know you well enough and know me and know you well enough that, if you do have somebody in there that you trust wholeheartely and they are no longer there, there is a reason. Yep. And in my experience, you don't throw your trash out there. It's just, it is what it is. You just kind of move on,
Something that's interesting too, especially with you three that are here, about 66%, 2 out of 3 jobs in the United States are created by small business owners, right? And you guys started your business and you immediately created jobs. Whereas some small businesses, you're a one-man show or one-woman show and you're that way for years and years and years until you start adding staff.
I have 38 employees.
Yeah, in 8 years you've got almost 40 employees. I know, Kris, you've hired a few people here. I'm sure you've got folks working down at the food hall. So I mean, you always hear about big business. I think in economic development we kind of get a rough shake at, they'll say, well, economic developers only care about, the Amazons or the Apples or the whatever. And really, I mean, small business is just as important, right? Because we know that 2/3 of our community is small business. And so that's incredible. And Alaksha, like I said, I mean, the traits that you have clearly led you to a place of success. But, what would you say to somebody who wants to start their own business that they need to embody? What trait do they need to have? Resilience has got to be one of those. Perseverance, yes. Right?
Absolutely. And like Angie said as well, passion. For me, passion, if you don't have the passion, then what's going to make you get up and go into work? You have to get up early in the morning. Mm-hmm. You have to work so hard. But if you don't have the passion, then you're not going to be able to be successful. And like you also said, Angie, you have to care. You really have to care for the people. And it's not about the money, really. The money will come, but that's not the reason why we do what we do, We want to be able to feed people. And in our industry, especially if you're cooking for people and you're a restaurant, you want to make a difference to them. Growing up, I grew up in very, very humble beginnings. We couldn't afford a lot of things that are basic necessities. We used to, my mom and my sister and I, we used to walk about 2 miles every day just to get fresh vegetables. And my mom used to cook every day because we didn't have a refrigerator to store that food in. So every day we had to walk really far, get the fresh vegetables home, cook every day. And to me that left a huge impact, to be able to feed someone. So for example, even at the restaurant, we have a school that comes every Wednesday, middle schoolers, and there's this one kid, she comes quite often to eat with us. And this one day she came just for a drink, and I said, don't you want to eat today? She said, no, I don't have any money. So I was like, hang in there, I went in, I got her a fresh hot lunch and I gave it to her. So for me, it makes a huge difference, when I see someone hungry, I just want to feed them. Sure. People have come to us for food, and sometimes their credit card declines, and I'm like, don't worry about it, I got it, So for me, it's very personal.
Yeah, it's one of those pay it forward type situations, right? It always comes back to you. I guess the other thing that I think is interesting, because I always, I talk to people all the time, is, kind of what do you guys wish you knew, let's say 2 years ago or back whenever you started your business, that you know now, right? I mean, Kris, what do you wish you would have known, other than the things already mentioned, right?
Well, it parlays into that.
Yeah.
Don't trust without verifying necessarily.
Okay.
Don't just accept everybody as good people, but don't be jaded. So there's this. We are such in the public eye. And we do this job for the public. I don't serve food. I don't nourish people's, sustenance every day. But I do provide a space that I think is warm and welcoming and safe. And creating a culture in your business that shows the community who you are. Okay. And I think that's what I wake up every morning and I'm ready to experience, and continuing to look at your business in a way of not just making money, but how do I help the people around me? Yeah. So we try to create events here that are centered around different charities, giving back to the community, and then even going as far as going down to the legislators' building to help talk to politicians about laws that are affecting our industry. Sure. Getting involved.
I was going to say, wasn't there something that came out about the
big
distributors
news.
and stuff?
Yeah, they just raised the cap to 50,000 barrels, and companies like Foothills and Old Mecklenburg out of Charlotte are finally going to be able to expand. But that didn't happen without the support of a bunch of local breweries going up and saying this is why this is important and our voice matters.
Yeah, I think something that you just said that's really interesting is how entrepreneurs in small businesses have a way of putting a little bit of themselves into the business, right? Instead of you just working at an office, you show up every day, 9 to 5, you do your job, you leave. You guys are crafting an environment that's actually a little bit of an extension of yourself, right? It's almost like a second home or something like that.
Or you can name your business after yourself.
Oh, you can name it?
Well,
same here.
It's worked. I mean, the same thing to you, Angie. What do you wish you know? What do you wish you knew? You know what I'm saying? Looking back after, you almost have a decade of.
Well, honestly, I think I wish I knew that that God was in control of this whole, like everything that I went through to get where I am today.
Yeah.
At that time I was like, oh my Lord, I'm going to go broke. My kids are going to starve. I don't know what to do. I'm too opinionated. But these people just kept coming up to me. Hey, you need to go in business for yourself. They saw something in me that I didn't even see in me.
That's incredible.
He has a plan. He has a plan for me, and as long as I stay true to that, then, we'll be fine. And even today, this past weekend I had an event, and I was shorthanded. I had to feed 125 people at 12 o'clock on Saturday away from the restaurant in Middlesex. And I had one down with the flu, the other ones were off whatever, and that just doesn't happen, and it always seems to work out. without, and you look back and you think, well, there's got to be, I believe in God, but I know everybody believes in their own higher power, but there's got to be something out there that's saying, all right, you're going to stress a little bit, you're going to go to bed at 10:30, you're going to get back up at 3 o'clock, but the hustle and bustle, as long as you put the effort and you're going to do this. I also wish that I kind of knew how to delegate a little bit better. It took me a long time to learn to delegate. And it's not that I had any thing about trusting people. It was more I was a control freak. I wanted things a certain way.
Is that a common trait in entrepreneurs?
Yes.
Is that right?
You and then when you make it to that point and your name is on the building, you're like, whoa, this is my name, and so sometimes I guess I could be a little overwhelming to people, that worked with me, not for me. I think they work with me, not for me. I think we're all here to do a job and to make a place in life, and that's all we want to do is be recognized for our good faith and our good hard work. But dealing with somebody like I was on a mission to prove that I could do this, and it was not as easy for most people that worked with me in the beginning. Now, as I have probably 75% of the people there have been with me
The entire time.
the entire time.
That is incredible in the restaurant business.
Yes. But, I think it's because these people that are there with me, they care like I care. They work like I work, and also I think leadership, I think that if you set standards, and you show them that, I'll clean the toilet too. I don't need you to clean my toilets. I'll clean my own toilets, and, for the longest time, I had to blah, 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 blah. If you don't do this, well, then after like 2 years, the girls are like, look, we don't tolerate you laying out. Don't try to be on your phone in here.
All of a sudden they're running
and I look back and I'm like, wow,
That is incredible.
But and also like with Jimmy, he sacrifices a lot. I think he thought, he'd buy this house at the beach, and all he had to do was find this girl and get a house, and we'd run off in the sunset. And I'm like, go to the beach, have fun. I'm here. He's like, well, you need to enjoy the fruits of life,
Yeah.
But I am every day at that restaurant, so.
Alaksha, what do you think are the biggest obstacles that people face today trying to get into business?
Well, firstly, I think we need to have confidence. When you start a business, there's so many things that will hold you back. Firstly, the fear. To be honest, when I wanted to go big or go into with both my feet in, I was a little scared. But my husband was like, no, you got this, So the support team around you is so important. The challenge is basically, you have to do your research because there could be so many obstacles. Now, for example, with the food truck, we thought about it for at least 2 years before we actually opened it. Because for us, the challenge was permitting. What are the rules and regulations? You had to make sure that you're with the health code, with the health department. Financing was a huge challenge. Then doing your research on locations. Where's my truck going to go? Who's going to help us if we need advice? Because this is something new for us. But we had to do a lot of research, and my husband, he crunched the numbers. He called people. I called people. We did a lot of research before we could actually even consider opening up the food truck. And opportunities knock very softly, So if you're not confident that you can do this, you might miss that opportunity. So, and every business I know has its own challenges. Labor, like you said, is a challenge. To get the right people to be there by your side, to help you, to work with you, not necessarily to work for you, but to work with you. They have to have the same goals as you do. They need to care about the business, like you said, like you do. That's a huge challenge, to get the right people, to get the right team.
I think we were talking a little bit before we started filming and recording that, the unemployment rate here in the Triangle Park is like 3.2%. It's just unreal. It's one of the lowest unemployment rates in the history of our nation, right? And that affects big businesses, but it has to affect small businesses too, because you guys need to hire folks. You know, you're not doing it all on your own. I mean, have you been able to get the talent you needed to be successful, even in a tough, tight labor market?
It's tough. I have one person who really cares about my business like I do, and then I've got my family around me. My mom works with me, the kids work with us. We put them to work. My husband works, he's got a full-time job, but still in the evenings and weekends, he's at the food hall or the truck, depending on what's going on. I've got my uncle working with me. So I've got a huge support system, and I've got some good employees that are there who care about it. They in fact tell me that go home and rest. Tomorrow you come in at 11 o'clock. Don't come in at so early, we got this. Yeah. So that's important, to have the support team and to make sure that we keep our standards, because like you said, Angie, and your name is on that product. So people are coming back because they enjoy that product. So if you change, then
Well, the thing about it is, if you skip a beat, social media will throw you out.
God. Yeah.
I mean,
It's a double-edged sword, right?
Oh,
it can make your business,
it's
or it
like,
can break it.
9 times out of 10, I'm going around the restaurant. Everything okay? Everything okay? Everything okay? Yes, wonderful, wonderful. And then you get home and you're laying in bed and ding your phone, and then you're like, what? I mean, I was there all day. How'd that happen? And why didn't they just come to me and say, hey, look, this is not what I expected. We're not perfect, and we are extremely busy, so things are going to happen. Yeah. But, we can't change it unless you let us know. Yeah. And if you don't give us the opportunity, I don't want you to leave here, the restaurant unhappy. So, 9 times out of 10, if you don't tell me, I can't change that before you walk out my door.
I'll say all you guys are on social media, right? And you use it to market your business.
Yes. Well, I don't think you would have a business these days if you didn't have social media.
I know it's huge in food trucks and breweries. I mean, everybody is constantly online, exchanging things, and it certainly can be a good thing, right? Because it's cheap, but it can also burn you too. It's one of those things.
But whether you're signed up for it or not, people, they put you in there. Yeah. Their opinion, counts. You can have 500 great opinions and that one right there, I have this lady one time that put on there, and I cried. It was my first bad review. I cried for 6 weeks. I was so upset that we didn't make our biscuits. We used cheap product and this and that. And, for the longest time I was like, okay, am I going to respond to this lady? How am I going to do this? I'm just going to cry. And then next thing you know, people just started responding back for me.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'm like, okay. Because they know that, we're in there at 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, and we don't leave till. So, and I know that y'all feel the same way. You think you go in with a plan to make everybody, happy, and you strive for excellence, and you work hard, and you try to keep your place clean, and you have a smile on your face, and then, whoop, somebody had a bad day, and I think sometimes that's what happens.
Kris, as we kind of talked a little bit, we've talked about your past, certainly we talked about what's going on in the brewery today. What does the future hold for Brice's?
So in the immediate future, we're looking at adding more packaging options. Right now, we only have growlers that we feel on demand here. So we're working on labels and labeling requirements to start canning and bottling soon. Not on a big scale, just small batch stuff, but so that our customers have another option to take home with them, and also to put our product out there in bottle shops and maybe even restaurants that carry cans and bottles and stuff like that, so that we can. That's part of our marketing plan, essentially, is the wider spread that we can send our product. More people know about us, and hopefully it sends them back here, which is the ultimate goal. This is the epicenter of the business. This drives everything. So no matter how far our product goes out, we want them to come back here. As far as expansion goes, we're doing it calculated. We want to do it in a way not necessarily that focuses on, how many barrels we want to increase by, but what types of product that we want our customers to have. So we're going to start doing more barrel-aged beers, so starting a sour program. I don't know if that means anything to anybody, but in the beer industry, those are kind of like the top-notch products that people want in bottles and cans to take home, because they're ageable, they're the collector's items, the artwork on the labels. People like all that kind of stuff. So hopefully hiring some new people.
Great.
I don't know when that's going to happen, but I'm looking at, speaking of delegations, you know, like I can't, right now, like myself, my taproom manager, Taylor, and I, we pretty much run about 99% of the business. My wife helps with finances and stuff in the back end, but she's also a full-time teacher still, and we have a 2.5-year-old, and
Life.
life.
You gotta.
But I can't brew beer forever, and that's a lot of what I do right now during the week. Is Taylor and I come in, we brew beer, we make beer, but at some point I'm going to have to hand over the reins to somebody else who can brew beer for me, so that I can expand our business in different directions. I am a control freak, and I am scared to let that happen. I am scared to let that happen.
Over
so.
breakfast talk sometimes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Sure.
So, anyway, with the different packaging options, and I mean, who knows? Maybe someday we'll have a second tap room in Garner or something like that. So that'd be pretty cool. So, just to give a little shout out to another brewery that might be opening in Garner, hopefully in the next year or so. Minor Key Brewing, a friend of mine, makes fantastic beer. He and I and his company are doing a collaboration this week, and so be looking out for that. And we're going to be using full bloom coffee in the beer, so it's kind of like keeping all of Garner business in the beer. So we're pretty
Keeping it
excited about
local.
that.
That's right.
So,
That's incredible.
yeah.
That's very exciting. What about you, Alaksha? What does the future hold for Curry in a Hurry?
Well, since the food hall just started, you know, we are still getting a hang of that. We just finished with winter, which was a little slow, but I know summer is going to be crazy busy, so we are preparing for that right now. And then the truck is also out, you know, going to all the rodeos. We're actually going to be at the Garner Rodeo end of April.
Okay.
So right now we are just focusing on what we have, but you never know. You never know. We might down the road open up another one. And we do have a lot of people asking, you know, when are you going to open up one in Garner or North Raleigh? Or, you know, we've got so many people who come from all over town, and they want more. But for us, keeping the consistency is also very important. So I don't want to do more than I can handle. So right now, we are very happy with what we have. We're just going to focus on that. But again, like I said, you never know.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like control and trust, right?
Yes.
What about you, Angie?
Well, you know, I had often thought, you know, about opening a second location in another town somewhere. But then I thought, well, Garner is my town. You know, I love Garner. I feel like I wouldn't be able to give another town, you know, 110%. Garner's been great to me, so I think I'll just stay and focus on where I am. I'd like to expand at the spot that I'm at now. I hope to have a venue of my own. I'd like to expand my menu, like a little more gluten-free. I'd like to do my own baking as far as cakes and stuff. I do like having little parties, you know, although there's, you know, at that little restaurant, it's not big enough, but we've got some ideas in mind. I'd like to, you know, maybe bottle up some of my own sauces that people like. I've often thought about doing my own cookbook, but there's just like all kinds of things. But you know, when I did think, because there was a time, I mean, maybe about a month, 2 months ago, you know, like I said, I have some girls that have been with me for a long time, and I know they don't want to wait tables all their life. Not that there's anything wrong with waiting tables, but I know they love it and they love the people. And you know, I thought, well, you know, let's just start a little franchise here. Let's just see, because they know what I expect. So it would be the ones that have been with me forever. You know, let them have a piece of, you know. But then I thought, well, you know, if you take away, then I don't think it'll be as unique as it is, you know. So I said, we can just do in-house. We can expand where we are, and then have them to be a part of it, you know, because, you know, they have given me a lot of years of dedication and hard work and stuff, and, you know, I do want to give back to them. But it's just right now, we've got some things working right now, so we're hoping, you know, eventually it'll all work out.
Well, I think we'll wrap up with just ask each one of you kind of a similar question we talked to before. You know, there may be some entrepreneurs out there that are kind of sitting on the fence, that might listen to this or hear this about whether or not they should get into business, especially in business in Garner, which I hope they will. What are some words of wisdom to somebody who might listen to this podcast that you can instill in them when it comes to opening a business or starting their own business? And hopefully they'll do so here in Garner, but just in general, what are some words of wisdom you can leave with our audience?
I really believe that some words of wisdom for people. I would just do it.
Okay.
I mean, I would just, here in Garner, I don't think Garner is going to let people down. As long as they're doing what they're supposed to do, Garner is going to wrap their arms around any business that walks through here. They totally made it. It was the easiest thing I ever did. I didn't plan. I didn't research.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I didn't do anything, but I had a dream that I wanted to own my own business, to be in control of my own self, to be able to, like if somebody wanted blueberry cobbler on Monday, well, I can have it, you know? But they made it so easy for me. I mean, it was like a walk. I could have gone blindfolded in the park, you know? And I just think that, as long as you're going in it with the right intentions and you're doing it, and you also, I think, you can't take, you have to also give back. Sure. I don't think you should give to expect anything in return, but the love that this town has for businesses and the growth that's happening here, I think it's wonderful. I mean, people ask me all the time, well, what about this place? What about this place? Angie, are you worried about this? And, I said, what are you going to do? This restaurant's opening. I said, I'm just going to continue to do what I've always done, and if something comes in there and knocks me out, I guess that just means God wants me to do something else, So, but I mean, in the 8 years that I've been there, Garner's not ever failed me.
Great.
So I'm going to continue to hopefully grow.
What about you, Kris? What's kind of some...
It sounded nuts at the time it was given to me as advice as a future entrepreneur by another entrepreneur, a guy who owns a restaurant in Clayton called Charlie's Barbecue. I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but fantastic food, great guy. But he told me once, he said, don't have a safety net. And I thought that was absolutely bonkers. And then I thought about it, and I was like, that makes perfect sense. And it came perfect in my life, which I was, I had a secure job, I was teaching, and then I was like, well, I'm willing to give all that up to do something. And I did both for 2 months, and I realized that I was hurting both of those things. Gotcha. So in order to fully do this thing that we've been open now for 2 years, I had to give up that. I had to move on from that, because without doing this 100%, it's not going to work.
That's incredible advice.
I thought so too.
Yeah, that's scary.
It's scary as
got
hell.
You. I got you. I got you. What about you, Alaksha?
Well, I would say if you have a passion for something, don't look back, just go for it, because you never know what tomorrow is going to be like. But if you never try, you would never know. Sure. So if you have a passion, go for it. And Garner has great resources. Go to the chamber. That's how I started. Ask them for advice. Use the resources they have. Do some research. And do what you love. And I always tell my kids, you do what you love and you'll never have to work a single day in your life.
There you go. Well, I want to thank you three for joining us today, and thank you, Kris, to allowing us to record here at Brice's Brewing. It's a beautiful place. I can't believe how nice it is and how far it's come in the past 2 years. It's incredible. Thank you, Alaksha with Curry in a Hurry, Kris with Brice's Brewing, of course, Angie with Angie's. You guys, keep me inspired to continue to hopefully inspiring other entrepreneurs to come here to Garner. Could not get three better people to help talk about entrepreneurship, small business, but more especially our town, right? So thank you guys for being here today. And thank you to all the listeners out there that will hear this. We appreciate it. We hope to have many more of these coming up with more great guests. So be looking for more videos and recordings in the future. And until then, Garner will keep on growing. Thank you guys.
Thank you.